Dear Dwayne, Raj, and Rerun. Wow.
Yeah.
Howie Kendrick will finish higher on the player radar than Robinson Cano this year. Yeah, I said it. Now discuss. Well, you don't have to hear
this now. This is the Fantasy Focus Baseball Podcast. Here are your hosts, Tristan Cockcroft and Eric Karabell.
Hi there, and welcome to Fantasy Focus Baseball. It's Monday, May 12th, 2014. I'm Eric Karabell. That is Tristan H. Cockcroft. Hope everybody had a great Mother's Day out there. Now it's time to get back to work, back to baseball. NFL draft is over. Lots of good stuff coming this week. Tristan, what's on your mind this fine day? Honestly, what's on your mind? Let's pick the brain of the great Sultan of Stat and see what's on his mind, because I don't know. I don't know what's on your mind.
Oh, let me take a big sip of coffee so I can get that mind working first.
While he does that, we will move along. See, not the best co-host in the game for nothing. All right, here we go. Time for the news. So every Sunday night I sit down to write my my blog for Monday, in which what is it called? The bits and all the information there, a lead, and a lot of Sunday nights it seems like all I'm doing is talking about injuries. I mean, there's a bunch of guys who go on the DL, a bunch of guys come back. It seems like it's all about that. It's not about performance. It's about who's actually healthy. And this baseball season so far, through 6 weeks, Tristan, seems to me like it's whoever has the healthiest guys is doing the best. I mean, because we're all losing players. I mean, I can't imagine there's a team that hasn't lost somebody somewhat important to them. This weekend,
maybe two, maybe three,
maybe five. I mean, and you know, we're seeing some pretty interesting players on free agency in our leagues because people just can't afford to hold on to these guys. The latest is Aramis Ramirez of the Brewers. I don't know if it depends on what your bench looks like. But Adam LaRoche of Washington, who really was having a nice year. Aramis Ramirez is going on the DL. It might be not until tomorrow because they're going to combine it with activating Ryan Braun. Matt Wieters does go on the DL for Baltimore. CC Sabathia, fluid in the knee. He's out for a couple weeks. Brandon Belt, this hurts. Broke a thumb. I'm sure it hurts him, too. And he's out at least 6 weeks. On Tuesday's show, we'll catch up with Stefania Bell and get her thoughts on some of these. But overall, these are all productive players. I mean, Sabathia wasn't pitching so well. But is several first basemen, a top 5 catcher. Aramis was knocking in runs. This is a little painful.
Yeah. I own every single one of those guys you just mentioned, by the way.
You have 25 teams.
Okay, so you had to go with the technicality. Yes, all right.
You own every player somewhere.
Mansleek, yeah, I do. But Mansleek, Belt, and LaRoche. Oh, and you know what's out there among first and third basemen.
Oh, you had them both? You had Belt and LaRoche?
Both of them. Yeah, yep. And not only that, I've got Adam Eaton on that team.
Well, I think...
And don't I have Alex Cobb, too, I think? Yeah, it's a real fun one.
Cobb anymore.
Everyone's got it.
Your team. Yeah, everyone's dealing with
this. All right,
this.
that's the wrong league.
So you can't even, you have too many leagues, you can't even keep track. I mean, a brief Man's League update. You won, and you're the best of the three of us right now in the standings. I made a huge comeback on Saturday against Mad Libs David, and David actually tweeted me to say, wow, that was something what happened on Saturday. I picked up like a bunch of guys with terrible numbers because I had nothing to lose. I was already losing ERA, whip. I was basically getting swept in pitching except for saves because he doesn't have any. And I picked up Chris Young of the Mariners. Who's that lefty on Oakland who had terrible numbers? I picked him up.
Tommy Malone.
Tommy Malone against Washington at home. I figured, why not? And he throws 8 shutout innings. I escaped with a 7-5 win, and Jay ended up about tied, 5-6-1.
Don't bury the lead, though. Don't bury the lead. Jay lost on base percentage this week.
Wow, 288 on base percentage.
Still beat you on OBP. And that's all that matters
to me. Is that the only win you've had in that category all season?
I don't know. That's a great question.
That's not right. That is not right.
You know, I'm looking at the standings. He's not last in OBP for the season. There are actually a bunch of teams that are worse. 3 teams are worse. Berger Evan, Corporal Brad, who's struggling, and the Voice Weber are all worse in season on base percentage.
This is a fun week, though.
But I'm not going to say anything bad about Corporal Brad because he sent us nice hats.
That's true. This is a fun week, by the way, though, because I play Burger Evan, Eric, and you play Mr. Bear's Adventure. So you'll be
the bear. I get the bear,
and I'll be playing the Burger.
Yeah, I think you like burgers. You going to give us any advice on the guys who went on the DL? Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
In order,
okay,
LaRoche, Aramis, Wieters, CC, and Belt. What's your order of in a standard league who you would keep owned? Remember, only one catcher needed in standard. Who would you keep own? What's the order, the hierarchy here?
Okay, so Aramis, CC, Wieters, and LaRoche. LaRoche is going to be at the bottom of that list. At the top of that list is going to be either Aramis or Wieters. Now, that pertains to whether you have one or two catchers?
Well, if you have one catcher, how can you keep Wieters owned if you only need one
I'm going to keep Wieters. I think this is. I felt like this was the year for. Look, I can make the case for Aramis as well. It's 1 and 1A. For me, I'm going to go Wieters by a hair over Aramis. Then I'm going to go CC. Then I'm going to go LaRoche. How would you have him?
What about Brandon Belt? I think Brandon Belt.
Belt. Yeah.
My order is different than yours.
Belt's at the top.
My order is Belt, Aramis, then Wieters, then LaRoche, then CC. CC you can cut. But I bet when he comes back, he's going to pitch well. I'll just say that. But in a standard league, there's so much pitching. I don't know why Wieters needs to be owned anymore. This doesn't look like it's 3 weeks. They're talking like July is what I'm seeing. And Tommy John Table's back on the table, apparently.
What?
I read an article.
No!
Anyway, I don't think you need to hold on to Wieters. I think there's plenty of catching. AJ Przinsky can get you through the final 4 months, honestly. But a bunch of guys returning as well. So there's good stuff and bad stuff. Chris Davis of the Orioles came back. The DL Wieters, Davis is back, had a couple hits on Sunday. Ryan Braun's coming back Tuesday, by all accounts here. And I wrote about the Brewers in my blog today, and basically saying they're a very interesting offense, if you think about it. Because Braun, I would say sell Braun now. Because I'm concerned he's going to get hurt again, whether it's the thumb or something else. His production is good. He's the number 15 outfielder on the player rater, so there's numbers there. You can convince somebody that he's a monster, a fantasy monster. I would like to sell him as a top 50 guy and get somebody else. But that's just me. Like, I'd rather have Chris Davis, for sure. I wouldn't trade for one of these injured guys because they're out a while. So anyway, I wrote about the Brewers, and it's some interesting stuff that I found out. There's only 4 catchers in ESPN leagues that are owned in 100% of leagues. One of them's a Brewer. Chris Davis, I can't roster him anymore. 1 walk, 39 strikeouts. He's not even trying to do that.
Yeah.
Carlos Gomez, I like. I said he'd be in my second round. Mark Reynolds might hit 30 home runs, but he ain't helping Kyle Loesch for the next month playing third base. I'll tell you that. Unless Loesch keeps striking people out. I'm not buying Gene Segura, not at all. I saw some of his at-bats this weekend. They were awful. Doesn't drive the ball. It was like watching Alcides Escobar last year. He refused to take walks, doesn't drive the ball, but he'll steal a base when he's on. Gene Segura is going to have like a 280 on base this season. He's not the same guy that was from the first half last year. Anyway, let's get your thoughts on some of these guys.
Ooh, the great Ricky Weeks batted third for the Brewers yesterday.
And did you see what he did? Did you see what he said? You know what? I saw this happen, and I said to my wife, if I told my boss that I won't do something that he asked me to do, what do you think would happen? Now, I know this happens all the time at ESPN, maybe even our department. But did you see Ricky Weeks? They asked him to learn how to play left field, and he declined. These pampered athletes. That's a joke. Scooter Jeanette's batting .301 against right-handed pitching and doing very well. Fields well, runs a little, can't hit lefties at all, but you could always platoon like Jeff Bianchi with him. Ricky Weeks is doing nothing. Chris Davis is doing nothing. Ricky Weeks can learn how to play left field. He refused to do it. That's a joke.
Well, we're just going to have to put up mediocre numbers and get a deal like Ricky Weeks. That's all.
A very, very well-paid gentleman.
I'm amazed that he's done as well as he has, and he slides in as the third spot, and I don't think he really deserved it. The numbers seem awfully fluky to me.
They have nobody
I don't know why
else.
we're getting off on the week. Why are we getting off the rails onto a Ricky Weeks discussion here? Mark Reynolds, I think, is the one who's been interesting. He's performed quite a bit better than expected, and as much as I talk about the up-and-down nature of Mark Reynolds, it is good power, and it is a good ballpark to exploit it. And that Aramis injury does open up the opportunity for both him and Lyle Overbay to play. There's no real platoon worry now.
Lyle Overbay's terrible, Tristan. 1 home run,
right, but
3 extra base hits.
But now there's no concern. Now there's no concern that Overbay will take any time away from Mark Reynolds. That's a big plus, I think. They're not even going to be tempted.
I'd be careful about this Brewers offense. I mean, yesterday, after Carlos Gomez leading off, it was Logan Schaefer, who shouldn't be playing. Ricky Weeks hit third. Lyle Overbay was fourth. Reynolds fifth. Chris Davis and his strikeout potential 6th, and Segura 7th. If you think Gene Segura's back, he batted 7th in that lineup yesterday. Oh, awful. Anyway, enough Brewers. Closer carousel. We got a couple guys coming back. That's
The Closer Carousel.
Aroldis Chapman.
I thought you were saving that for the emails.
I thought I was too, and then as soon as I said it, I thought
too tempted.
I couldn't wait any longer, but we'll do another closer question later. Chapman threw 15 of his 21 pitches were 100 miles per hour. Pretty nice. First appearance.
You know how many have been thrown this year at 100 miles per hour or faster?
How many pitches overall?
Yep.
Well, I bet Ventura has the most. Right?
No, actually, Aroldis Chapman has the most.
15 pitches is already the most?
Yes.
Yordano Ventura has how many?
I will get you that number.
15. Are you sure?
Is it 59? Yes, I'm absolutely sure. In our little pitch tracking tool, yes. 15 is the most. Here we go. It's 59 pitches total. Carlos Martinez is second with 12. Ventura 11. Kelvin Herrera 10. Carter Capps 9. Jose Fernandez has thrown 1. And Jake McGee has thrown 1. That's as geeky as they get.
The geeky stat of the day.
Holy freakout! The geek is gone berserk!
Created a little Twitter storm on Friday night because, remember, on the Friday show I said Jose Fernandez was going to lose to Tyson Ross and get hit, and he did. Gave up like 5 or 6 runs. And this is a reminder that, look, I'll never sit Fernandez. And by the way, I'll never sit Darvish or Kershaw. I know what we said about the Darvish versus Oakland, but I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't. I wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, maybe you could, but I can't. I can't do it.
No,
I watched Darvish in that perfect game, and I won't do it.
That was a misread. And I feel like the wins discussion we've had. And look, our debate was worthy on the wins merit, and I think it was also worthy on the Darvish one. These questions are valid. It's what do you do about it? Is it something to be concerned about? Yes, it should be something to be concerned about. But no, it doesn't mean run for the hills. When did we ever say run for the hills on these guys?
We never did.
But Darvish has a problem with Oakland, and Adam Wainwright has a problem with the Cubs. He plays the Cubs tomorrow.
I don't look at the same things you look at when we talk about streaming pitchers. And I was not scared of using Tyson Ross against Jose Fernandez. Now, did I think it was going to really end up that way? Of course not. But that, Fernandez gets hit, once in a while. Everybody gets hit once in a while. Aroldis is back, sticking on the closer carousel. Casey Jansen of Toronto is back and just in time. You all worried about Kenley Jansen? It's a 1.7 whip. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I thought about that when I looked at his numbers and some of the recent performance. I'm a little troubled. And I'll say this. The reason Aroldis Chapman was a very intriguing topic to me today is I am awfully tempted to put him to the top of my relief pitcher rankings. Now, he's likely going to go number 2 behind Craig Kimbrell. But I'm really tempted. I'm going to have to look closer at that. I might put Chapman at that number 1 spot this week.
That seems a little premature. I mean, there's no way I'd... Over Kimbrell? What has Kimbrell done wrong?
Kimbrell hasn't been quite his same self.
He's been very out for 6 weeks. You just jump from A to from Z to A that fast. I mean, I'm not worried about Aroldis. I'll say that. I'm not worried about him. But I mean, if you want to put him ahead of Kenley Jansen, who's got terrible numbers, fine.
Yes.
But Kimbrell,
that's the upshot.
Or Greg Holland, I can't put him ahead of Holland, right? I want to see a little bit more, but.
We had him ahead of Holland in the original ranks before he got hit by the line drive, and I don't think a lot has changed.
One outing I think one outing and a ball in the face changes it a little bit. I mean, I think I need a little more time. Could Aroldis be my number 1 closer in a couple weeks? Sure. But it's one outing. It just seems premature to me. I mean, there's so much going on here.
I don't think he has anything to prove to be a top 3.
No, I have number 3 right now. There's a bunch of other stuff here going on when it comes to closers. John Axford mercifully lost his job. You want to keep defending him, Tristan? I don't know what else. We've been saying this for 6 weeks now. John Axford is terrible. Even Matthew came on and said it. You kept defending him. Now, he might get the job back. But surprise, Terry Francona actually, I think he gave the job to Brian Shaw, who doesn't throw as hard as Cody Allen. He gave some quotes to reporters the other day saying he wants to keep Cody Allen in the setup role. You know, we'll get to more about closers coming up.
There's my point exactly.
What? I said I don't say anything other than that.
Nope. That's my point exactly was he wants to keep Cody Allen in the setup role. That was precisely the point. He wants to have the flexibility to use Cody Allen wherever he wants. And I'll tell you this, as much as there's nothing I've got really to defend John Axford with. I think he has the opportunity to turn this around and fix this season, and I don't think it's his final save chance of 2014.
Come on, man. You just got to stop on John Axford. Who has more saves this year, John Axford or Jim Johnson?
Would you rather I just gave the vanilla advice of saying, okay, the closer job change is permanent forever, John Axford is never going to have value again?
I think he will have value, but he's terrible. He's terrible. I mean, he can pitch better than me, but his numbers, he's walking people left and right. He's given up home runs. I don't know what you're waiting for. I'd rather have Jim Johnson than John Axford.
Was I disputing the ability of John Axford comparative to Cody Allen? No.
Oh, well, I think we would all agree Cody Allen has more skills. But that
and
rarely is how the closer role is chosen. I don't know if you guys could see the Phillies game yesterday, but I couldn't stop laughing. Because I know they're not a contending team. So if they're going to lose a game, it's not going to bother me all that much. It was Mother's Day. We had family. It was all great. I do care. Papelbon said he could not pitch because his neck hurt. He had thrown Friday and Saturday a total of 24 pitches. So when Antonio Bastardo predictably started to blow the 3-run lead in the ninth inning, they brought in Roberto Hernandez / Fausto Carmona. He threw 99 pitches on Friday, and he's trying to save Sunday's game. Now, of course, how can that possibly go well? Ryan Sandberg is one of like 20 managers who is so over his head making poor decisions. But I think Papelbon will be fine, is the fantasy advice here. Don't pick up Roberto Hernandez for saves. But what a joke. You watch this
stuff. Didn't he blow the game?
Hernandez? Well, he came in. The 3-run lead had already been whittled to 1, and there was a man on second with no outs, or 1 out. Bastardo, of course, strikes out David Wright, but the other guys got on base. And then Hernandez comes in, and he actually didn't pitch poorly, but the run scored. And then they lose in extra innings. None of that surprising at all. But
so he blew the save. There you go.
Well,
this reminds me of the Chin-Ming Wang game way back when, where the teams like to use these guys during their throw day, except the difference is that Wang actually got the save in Baltimore when that happened.
Well, I do think that John Axford will get more saves this year than Roberto Hernandez for the rest of the year. But anyway. All right, moving along. Anything else you want to get to in the buzz here? As we predicted, by the way, Alex Wood of the Braves did leave the rotation. People thought that wouldn't happen. It did happen. And he pitched a couple times in relief this week, and he actually won a game in relief. But we told you this was going to happen.
You know what? That also wasn't his final start because he will be pitching according to the current schedule on Saturday.
Yeah, I think he'll get some more starts, but I don't think they're going to throw anybody out of the rotation.
Please explain this to me. I do not understand. I listened to Freddie Gonzalez say, I don't want to go with a 6-man rotation. He takes Alex Wood out of there. I understand that was what he wanted to do. I wouldn't have done it. I would have kept him in there over Gavin Floyd or Harang personally. And then he goes ahead and does a 6-man rotation this week.
He can't. He can't take Harang or Floyd out because neither can pitch in relief. And they're both pitching well. So you can't really argue this. Alex Wood was a setup man on Sunday. I'll tell you what, Freddie doesn't have a clue what he's doing either. Not a clue. With lineups, with who he brings in to pitch, the way he uses Kimbrel, he's awful. Awful.
All I can tell you is Wood's pitching again on Saturday, and that I find awfully puzzling. For a guy who said he's out of the rotation, he puts him right back. I don't understand it.
Would you use Alex Wood on Saturday? I mean, we can talk about it on Friday, but I'm scared, personally.
Who's the matchup for that game? Is that St. Louis?
Well, then probably not.
It is St. Louis. St. Louis. So no, I wouldn't.
Lions. I don't think. Well, it's Tyler Lions. All right, let's move on from the news now, and let's get to the report where we talk about daily notes and the pictures for today and all that fun stuff. Still no sound, I guess. All right. So not a full slate of games.
We're very close.
I'm sure we are. ESPN tonight, Cubs at Cardinals. It'll be our good friend Travis Wood against the lefty Tyler Lions. I'm using Travis Wood there. Got pounded in his last outing for 8 earned runs, but I'm still using him against the Cardinals' offense. Ain't doing a whole lot, I got to tell you. You have concerns about Travis Wood?
I do, only in that the card.
Tell us.
No. I won't.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't sit him. I will point this out. If it matters to you on the tight cap leagues or the shallow formats, the Cardinals have a decent history against him, so I don't see extraordinary numbers. But I'm not going to sit Travis Wood. In the overwhelming majority of leagues, he's staying in my lineup. I will say this. I think Tyler Lyons has a pretty respectable matchup here. I think this could be a competitive game, and both guys are attractive.
But you'd rather use.
But no, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to argue to sit Travis Wood. Don't try to bait me on that.
You would sit him if he was pitching against Wainwright today. See, I got you. You would sit him if it was Wainwright. The only reason you're not sitting Travis Wood is the opposing pitcher, and I don't want to argue this anymore, but I'll never understand why that matters to you.
No, you're trying to point me into something I don't believe. No, that's not true. It would detract slightly more from the matchup. Yes, but I don't. It's not going to just. It's not like starting the domino trail. Come on.
I'll tell you what we're going to be talking about tomorrow if something goes the wrong way. If Felix Hernandez in his career is 4-0 with a 1.19 ERA, in 8 career starts against Tampa Bay at home. Mariners have won all 8 of those starts that he's made. Now, Felix's last outing or two haven't been very good. If Felix gets lit today, that's the story tomorrow. That's the lead, right?
Why?
What do you mean why? He's dominated Tampa Bay in home games, and his last outing...
That's so irrelevant. That couldn't be more irrelevant.
Tristan, his last outing, he gave up 11 hits in 6 1/3 innings and did not have a strikeout. You're telling me you're not worried about Felix Hernandez when he didn't have a strikeout in that game? Now, I'm not sitting him. There's no way I'm sitting him. He has awesome career numbers in his career against Tampa Bay. If he gets lit up tonight, you don't think this is a topic tomorrow?
I think if he gets lit up tonight, it's a topic tomorrow. I think what you said about the Rays and the history, especially in Seattle, is entirely irrelevant. Give me the dates of those games.
I have no idea.
That's different. Cubs, Cardinals face each other a lot. There's a familiarity there, and those numbers came in more recent outings. If you're talking only the games Tampa has played in Seattle over his history, I'm going to bet not only are they not once a year, they might be 2013, 2011, 2009. I don't really care about stats from 2009 with Felix Hernandez. I just don't.
Okay. Well, look, we're not sitting him, but I'm just all right, current Tampa Bay Rays, all right, because you might be saying, oh, this is all guys, from 2008, or it's, whatever.
Okay.
Current Rays are batting 200 off of Felix Hernandez with 1 home run and 135 at-bats. If he gets lit, this is an absolute story, okay? And some of these guys are pretty good. Evan Longoria has at-bats. Ben Zobrist, 3 for 25. Desmond Jennings is only 0 for 4, so that's not much of a sample. But anyway, let's move on.
I want to see you give me a line on him then. I want to hear you give me a line on him. I think we should give the criteria with which we're concerned about these guys. If you think that's
I'm not concerned unless he gets hit. If he gets hit, I'm concerned. 7 innings, 2 runs. And he's pitching against a guy who doesn't even go 5 innings, Cesar Ramos, who is
I think he's going to toss a gem.
I think it's going to be a good game.
I think he's going to toss a gem. I could see this being 7, 8 innings, 1 run. I really do. I'd start him with great confidence.
Between Gavin Floyd and Tim Lincecum, who would you rather use?
I would Tim Lincecum, and that's not really even close.
Why?
Tim Lincecum. Because Tim Lincecum's another guy where you just use the career numbers about this, and I think I said it on Friday that no current Brave has ever homered off Lincecum. The batting average is like 220, and they strike out.
Wait a second. You just used the exact opposite argument. You just told me you're not worried about Felix. Felix's numbers against Tampa mean nothing, but Lincecum's against Atlanta means something. How can you possibly say that?
That's exactly my point. You're using the stats for Tampa. Why can't I use them for Lincecum? No, I actually think this is a good matchup for Lincecum just because the Braves are strikeout prone. And that is really as far as I'll go. If you want, I'll throw all the extra career stats in there.
No, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. I don't think you understand.
No, I do understand what you're saying. I don't think it... We're both nitpicking stats.
You just argued the exact opposite argument. Right?
Yeah, and I could say the same that you did.
No, I didn't. I said if Felix
gets
lit. I'm not arguing that Felix is...
Okay.
You're not listening to me.
Lincecum gets shelled in this game, isn't that the same result?
No, he's terrible. Lincecum's terrible and Felix isn't. That's my whole argument. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. I don't think career numbers mean much more than you do. But you can't say that the numbers that for Felix against Tampa mean nothing, but the numbers Lincecum against Atlanta mean something. Either they both do or they both don't. That's my point.
Look, I think it's an interesting fact that they have had a specific history striking out against them, but it really comes down to just the Ks. I think Lincecum still has pretty good K stuff, and I think the Braves are a strikeout team. That's really what
I agree with that. I'm not using Bartolo Colon. And I said I defended him last week. His numbers at Yankee Stadium are just awful. Against the Yankees are just terrible. But I don't trust him in this outing. So there.
There's no A-Rod, though.
I hope not.
No, I'm serious. A-Rod actually does own Bartolo Colon. I mean, if you look at their numbers, that's one where, I think it is relevant.
So are you
A-Rod
using
really owns him.
Are you using Colon today?
No. Are you? No.
I'd rather not. I'd rather use Porcello, who also has terrible...
There's no way you could use Bartolo Colon today. Come on. He's going to be hanging out at NYY Steak all morning, probably.
There's plenty of reasons why you could use Bartolo Colon. He's a good pitcher. He's got good numbers. He's had a couple bad outings this year, but there's a lot of reasons. And by the way, Gavin Floyd's going to do just fine in San Francisco. Would you use Floyd over
Lincecum? You answer that now.
I'm pretty close to, I would use him. I would use Gavin Floyd over Tim Lincecum. I don't know why.
There's an interesting head-to-head.
You explained why you like Lincecum, but I think you're wrong. He's getting
That's
lit
possible.
up home and road. I mean, Lincecum might have 5 innings with 5 strikeouts. He might get you the strikeouts you want, but I think Gavin Floyd's going to pitch better. And I don't like Gavin Floyd at all. But Tim Lincecum's whip is 1.71. He's given up 50 hits in 35 and a third. Every outing, he gives up more hits than innings. Atlanta's offense is a problem, but still.
I like that, though. We'll see what happens tomorrow with this. You've got Floyd. I got Lincecum. I'm curious about this one. I'll give you 2 other ones that would you consider using either one of these? Mark Burley in the home game against the Angels, or John Danks at Oakland?
I will not use John Danks. I don't like using anybody at Oakland, to be honest with you, the way they hit. I mean, I'll use my ace pitchers at Oakland, but I'm not using John Danks. No way. And Burley, yeah, I will use Burley because he's not getting hit at all. Now, it's going to end some point, and at some point I'll be wrong, but he's still pitching great. So, no, I'm not scared of Mark Burley today.
I am of that matchup.
Okay. Well, you don't have to use him. No. Burley's ERA is 1.91. His last outing, I watched it. It was 7 innings. He was throwing 80. He gave up 3 hits and no runs. He has 1 outing this year where he's given up more than 2 earned runs, and I'm not too concerned. Current Angels have hit him. Current Angels have hit him. Well, it's not the Angels, the Rockies. All right, we've spent a lot of time on this, and now it's time for some emails.
All right, here we go.
Fantasy Focus at ESPNradio.com.
If you need anything else, let me know.
Fantasy Focus at ESPNradio.com.
This guy calls himself Nigerian Prince Adrian. So he writes.
He's a former mansleaguer. That's why he calls himself that.
Oh, well, there you go. So Trevor Rosenthal, who was spectacular as a non-closing relief pitcher last year, seems to be really struggling with the closing role. Yet another dirty Fuentes on Sunday night.
A dirty Fuentes. Ole!
You want to talk about a guy escaping a game where he shouldn't have escaped. That was last night.
Yep. That was the dirtiest of dirty Fuentes. Ooh.
He looked terrible. Bases loaded, nobody out, and he gets out of. What's Ike Davis doing? What is he doing? Rosenthal just walked the guy on 4 pitches. All right, I think it was Clint Barmas. How do you walk Clint Barmas on 4 pitches? None of them even close to the strike zone. And Ike Davis comes up next, and on the first pitch pops up to first base. I would bench him for that. Anyway, and then he gets a double play out of your boy Jordy Mercer. So Rosenthal ends up with his 10th save. He still hasn't blown any. His ERA is 4.96. Doesn't look impressive to me. And he's putting a lot of men on base. Still a strikeout guy. You know what? You want to hear a prediction from me? Jason Mott's closing by August. There's something wrong with Trevor Rosenthal. They can't make him a starter this year, and they can't make Carlos Martinez, whose numbers are pretty bad too. They can't make either one of them starters anymore because they're in the bullpen. And I don't want to say we're getting late into the season, but St. Louis they had Mujica close most of last year, and then Rosenthal picked it up right in September and was in the playoffs. I bet Jason Mott gets saves. I really do. Anyway,
I would not be shocked by that.
The rest of Adrian's question here, Karabell, he calls me out, of course. You've been consistent in saying that closing is not a big deal. It's not. That it's more about role than skill. Well, it is to get the job. And that managers should just put their best relief pitcher in that role because closer makeup is a fantasy. 2 things mixed there. Closer makeup is an absolute fantasy. Okay, don't listen to people like Mitch Williams tell you it's not. And by the way, Google what he did this weekend. But
no,
you won't believe what happened.
I know,
you won't believe it. But putting your best relief pitcher in that role, no. I don't have any problem with Cody Allen remaining in a setup role for Cleveland because Brian Shaw could get 30 saves this season. He really could. And on a lot of different teams. Now, Kenley Jansen is the Dodgers' best relief pitcher. I don't think there's any. Well, I think you can make a case for Chris Withrow. Could you make a case? Maybe not yet. Maybe not yet. But when Kenley Jansen was setting up for Brandon League, I made the argument there's no doubt who's the better pitcher. But the manager doesn't have to make his best relief pitcher the closer. Because a lot of times, I don't know how many outings David Carpenter probably pitches to the middle of the opponent's batting order more than Craig Kimbrell does. I bet if you look that up.
Cody Allen, John Axford.
Well, that's different because Axford now is pitching in the 6th inning. But David Carpenter, how many high leverage outs did Carpenter get last season as opposed to Kimbrell? I bet it was pretty close. Every time I see Kimbrell pitch, it was the 7th, 8th, 9th batters.
I seem to remember a high leverage in a certain playoff game, and, well, we won't go there.
Anyway,
that result wasn't pretty.
I have Rosenthal and NL Labor, and I'm going to try to move him. But I'm also winning saves in that league, and I need a starting pitcher. But I'm starting to worry. I am starting to worry because I've seen a bunch of outings. You have a stat?
You want the theories?
Sure, let's hear it.
Not huge here. Okay, now it needs to be said that the fastball velocity is different. 97.3 last year and 96.0 this year. I still would remind you that when you throw that hard, that's not a major concern. But people are not chasing against him. They're not swinging at the non-strikes. And as I click off my little tab, last year 32% of the time he threw a pitch outside the strike zone, he generated a swing. This year it's 19%. It seems to me that opponents are taking a much more patient approach against Rosenthal, knowing that he is occasionally struggling with the command, and he's not adapting to it. I think that's a fixable thing, but it is a concern.
I thought before the season he was a borderline top 5 closer, but I don't think that anymore. Something's amiss. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's him. Maybe he wants to start.
You think it's weaker stuff, or do you think it's something that can be fixed with an adjustment? I think that's the key here. I think this is something that can be fixed, but there is a clear problem going on.
The velocity drop does not bother me as much as it does, say, with like a Papelbon. First guy that came to my head.
Right.
But
his velocity is in the range where it's a concern. Right.
Who? Rosenthal's? No. 97 to 96 doesn't bother me.
No. You're saying in
Papelbon going
like
95 to
91.
92. Yeah, that's a problem.
Right.
He's not throwing hard. But
when you're dropping below 93, that's when it's a problem.
I agree. I think Jason Mott's going to matter. Next, Mark in Yakima, Washington. We have a friend that lives near there. Dear Archer, Krieger, and Cyril. Archer. I have Victor Martinez need a first baseman. I noticed that Victor currently has 8 games played at first, and that makes me wonder if he might be eligible this year at that position. Well, he only needs 2 more games, Mark, and then he'll be eligible in ESPN leagues. He has to replace Adam LaRoche. If I still have to wait a while for Martinez to reach first base eligibility, it could happen this week. Do you think I should offer Victor Martinez for Freddie Freeman straight up? It's a points league, 10-team mixed head-to-head points, and points leagues are pretty comparable, and I may have a shot at making the deal. The reason why Victor Martinez is so valuable in a points league, as everybody should know, in 138 plate appearances this season, he has 6 strikeouts. 12 walks, 6 strikeouts. That's incredible. Can Chris Davis watch some video of this guy? Unbelievable.
What's
Victor
the
Martinez
stat on him?
325 with 8 home runs and 6 strikeouts. When's the last time somebody had more home runs and strikeouts? Since, like, Ted Williams or somebody.
Oh, darn it. I guess that it's no good anymore. He had I wish I could remember what the stat was. I could have sworn it was that he hadn't missed on a swing on a pitch in the strike zone the whole year or something like that. Somebody had this crazy stat on him.
I saw that. Yeah. He hadn't had a swing and a miss on an actual strike, which is speculative to some degree.
He's had 9 now, but that's awfully low. I mean, this guy's got an amazing contact rate. I'll say that there's no reasonable league in which Victor Martinez should be able to be traded for Freddie Freeman. If you can, by all means, go for it. I have a hunch if you send that offer out there just blindly, you're just going to offend the other team, and you're not getting a deal done with them.
Except in a points league, they're almost even.
I don't think so.
I do think so.
Do?
He has 6 strikeouts. I mean, Freddie Freeman strikes out. Victor Martinez has 6 strikeouts all season long. Now, Freeman's not Chris Davis or Adam Dunn, but Victor Martinez has more home runs than Freddie Freeman and 19 fewer strikeouts, and he's batting 23 points higher. I'm not saying, look, I'm taking Freeman over Martinez even in a points league too, but that is not a vetoable trade in a points league. They're even. In fact, I think Victor Martinez is ahead of Freddie Freeman in most points leagues. Anyway, to answer the question.
If you penalize for Ks, you're correct. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I looked at mine, and mine is by the context of not penalizing for Ks. Freeman only has 2 more points.
Exactly, that's my point.
That good.
Seeing that, but you off the top of your head thought, wow, Freeman's so much more valuable. This is why vetoing trades is generally a bad idea. Because in this case, you can make the case. Victor Martinez is going to be a top 10 first baseman this year. I said it last week. I'm still saying it now. One more question. This is Lorne. Dear Dwayne, Raj, and Rerun. Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Howie Kendrick will finish higher on the player radar than Robinson Cano this year. Yeah, I said it. Now discuss. Well, you don't have to order us around. The reason why this is possible, okay, and it's not silly. Now, most people would say, of course I'm taking Cano over Kendrick. Well, you might want to look again. Howie Kendrick stole 2 more bases on Sunday and has 9 for the season. He's also hitting over 300, 313. Not a lot of power so far, but 25 runs scored. He's off to a great start. He's the number 3 second baseman on our player rater, and Robbie Cano is number 13. Now, Cano is going to get better. He has 1 home run. He's going to hit, I think, 22, which is still down from expectations. Not a base stealer. And he'll hit around 300. But if Howie Kendrick bats 300 like Cano and steals 25 bases, Kendrick will beat Cano on the play rater.
Oh, with 25 steals, he'll beat Cano.
And so
I don't
Brian
think there's much
Dozier.
question about that.
Brian Dozier's going to beat Cano, too. In fact, if you ask me right now, the top 5 for the end of the season player rater at second base, I don't think Cano wins it. I think Cano finishes behind Kendrick and Dozier. And maybe D. Gordon. If D. Gordon steals 75 bases.
That's the one I wanted to ask. D. Gordon.
That's not
do you
stopping.
think D. Gordon finishes ahead?
Yeah. Well, it's unfair in a way because Cano is so much of a better player, obviously. But if D. Gordon's 70 stolen bases are so valuable. Michael Bourne used to finish as a top 10 guy on the player rater by stealing 50 when no one else was. It doesn't mean he was a good player. And he would contribute, 8 home runs. The point on Cano is we used to make this point about Peyton Manning in football. That Manning, I think he only was the top quarterback once in like a 10-year span, but we would still draft him as the number 1. Well, even before that, I think it was only one other time.
I think that was the only time in his career he ever finished first was last year.
But he was always a top 3 quarterback in drafts because of the consistency.
Correct.
And he would always deliver. Well, I don't think Cano's going to win the player rater at second base. I don't think Kendrick's stealing 25, but I think Brian Dozier is, and I think D. Gordon.
I will tell you this about Howie Kendrick, though. You know what does defend the possibility of Kendrick getting 25 stolen bases? The walk rate is nearly double this season as it was a year ago, which is a big, big change. Remember, we know Howie Kendrick is one of these guys who's free swinging and often swings at pitches outside the strike zone. Well, his chase rate, which we just mentioned earlier on the show, is the best he's had during our pitch tracking data era, which is since 2009. It's clearly the best he's had. He is much more patient this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's changed who he is. And if that ends up being a 10 home run, 25 steal season, if he bats 300 and scores 80 runs, because Cano's not scoring a lot of runs, then yeah, he'll beat Cano. Now, that doesn't mean you sell Cano. And you don't trade Cano for Kendrick. See, that's the thing. I just told people that Kendrick might beat Cano on the player rater, but if you ask me would I trade Cano for Kendrick, I wouldn't. Now, how can I justify that? But that's what I believe.
Because mathematically speaking, the way the player rater works is it fuels stolen bases a bit more than the other categories. And if that's a need for you, then okay, you need to think about that trade. But otherwise, no.
I don't think it fuels stolen bases. I think it fuels the outlier. That's what I think it does.
All right, yeah.
That's why Kimbrel and Chapman could be top 10 pitchers when they don't throw enough innings to really affect the ERA and WHIP. I mean, their 100 strikeouts is awesome for them, but it's obviously not Max Scherzer. But Kimbrel's 40 saves versus Scherzer having 0 is a big deal. So D. Gordon stealing 70 bases versus Cano ending up with 4. That's a huge outlier.
What do you think the final four? What do you think the final ranking is for those 4? Gordon, Dozier, Kendrick, and Cano. Where do you think they finish at the end of the year?
I think Gordon's going to be the top second baseman because I don't think he's going to stop running. I think Dozier's going 25-25. I hope he hits 250. But the power and the speed are absolutely legit, and he's going to score 100 runs. So he's going to score more runs than Cano. He might hit just as many home runs or more. He might beat Cano in runs, home runs. He'll certainly do it in steals. He won't beat him in RBI. And it won't come within 50 points in batting average. But Brian Dozier is going to beat out Robinson Cano in the player rater because he's going to go 25 homers and 30 steals.
You think all of them are going to, don't you?
I don't want to say Kendrick yet, but I think Gordon and Dozier will. Daniel Murphy has a shot too, Tristan. Same reasoning.
Yeah, he does. Yes, he does.
He's going to steal 20 bases again. He stole another base this weekend. He's a good player. And he could bat 300 just like Cano. I mean, he could bat 320. Daniel Murphy could beat out Cano. You know what? I didn't even bother looking, but I probably should. Did Cano even win second base in the player rater last year? He did. He beat out Kipnis. And Carpenter was third. Daniel Murphy was fourth. Not a huge difference, though, in Cano and Murphy. But Cano also batted. Cano had 27 homers and 107 RBI. And I don't think he's getting more than 22 and 85. So that's
I got to admit, those four is an extremely difficult question.
That's a good column for you. All right.
The critic in me does not want to put D. Gordon first on the list, but I could absolutely see the scenario by which he's up there just on the stolen bases.
I made a huge
I don't think
mistake.
he's going to hit for this average at all. I think the batting average is going to come down in a major way, but
what do you
I don't think he's losing the job now.
What do you think D. Gordon hits for the season? 270? I think he hits at least 270.
Final batting average?
Final batting average.
How quick can I do math on this one? I mean, I think I really think he's a 260 hitter from today forward. So that's probably a 275, 280 at the end of the year.
I'll
maybe
agree with that.
280, 285.
I'll agree with all that. I'll agree with all that. He has 2-3 stolen base games this month. Do you realize he has more stolen bases this month than I think anybody else in baseball has for the season? In the month we're on May 12th. I mean, I'd have to look that up, but I saw that stat at somewhere. He has 11 stolen bases in May. Now, that doesn't lead baseball, but that's pretty darn good.
Right.
And Eric Young has more,
steals
Hamilton has 12, but think about it. D. Gordon could have skipped April, and he'd have just as many or almost as many steals as anybody else. I don't think that's going to stop, and I know what Alex Guerrero is doing in the minors, and it doesn't matter. I think D. Gordon's going to keep his job. All right, final thoughts times. What are you writing about? You writing anything today?
Next thing is my ranks. No, I mean, because we're got our minds wrapped up a little bit in some football, so the next thing I'll have is our ranks coming out. Actually, the chat will probably have already happened after this. You hear this.
Your chat's at 11 a.m. every Monday. Mine's at 11 a.m. every Wednesday, although mine this week will probably have to be canceled or moved. For those that aren't aware of what we're doing this week, it's football summit time. The NFL draft is mercifully over, and good for you, Michael Sam. And so it's over, and we're going to rank players this week and do a bunch of videos, and we're all going to get together in Bucolic, Bristol, Connecticut. So actually, Tristan and I will be in the same studio with Jay on Tuesday and Wednesday, which should make for a better show. Still be posted very early for everybody who likes that, and we like it too. So that's what's going to happen this week. So football time, and Jay, football podcast. That's on the schedule for this week for the boys.
Maybe not this week, but definitely Wednesday of next week.
There's two football podcasts, right?
No hustle.
There's Matthew and Nate, and then there's Chris and Field, right?
Yeah, the Fantasy Underground. I have no idea the Fantasy Underground schedule right now.
Oh, you're not the producer of that show?
No, I am not.
Oh, well.
Is No Hustle involved in that one too?
Probably not. I think they hustle quite a bit.
All right, well, we're going to hustle out now. We're all done. Thank you all for listening. Hope everybody had a nice Mother's Day. Enjoy the NFL draft. Another new week. Middle of May. Have fun. Enjoy baseball. Tonight, what's the game that I said? It was Cubs-Cardinals? Is that what the game was?
Cubs-Cardinals.
Cubs-Cardinals. So I will be watching that. Tristan, you'll be watching what, 24? Is it on Mondays? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I mean, if we're supposed to have dinner tonight, how am I going to watch my 24? I'm going to have to blow you off for dinner. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's an absolute wah. Give me a break. All right, we're done. Have a great day.
You don't understand. You can watch with me.
No, I don't. I don't understand.
Yes,
and I don't care.
Because it will be. Yeah, you'll enjoy it because it will be
awesome.
Everything is awesome.
You totally baited me into that. That's it. Cut it.
Power.
We're done. See you Tuesday.
The theme song for the Fantasy Focus was created and performed by Eric Hutchinson. Check out more of his music at erichutchinson.com. Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Focus. For more great podcasts, log on to the iTunes Music Store or Pod Center at ESPNradio.com.